Hello again, my name is Rodney Reynolds and this is yet another video review. Today I'll be looking at a case modification. This is an AT to an ATX case. What I needed to do, this mod was a Dremel tool or any kind of cutting tool and a hammer. Remember folks, these videos are completely unedited and these are only my opinions.
Okay, what you're looking at here is the an older AT case, and this of course is an ATX motherboard. Now if you look in the back here, you'll note that nothing lines up, including the holes in the back or the mounts in the base. So there's going to be some or a lot of drilling through metal in this process to actually cut through the case. As you can see here, holes will be cut for the USB, the mouse, the keyboard, the COM ports, as well as a parallel port, and even more if you had a gaming slot as well as sound cards. But in this case I don't have a sound card on this motherboard in the sense of, you know, off the motherboard itself, so I don't need to do that. So let's go ahead and start cutting here and see what I actually have to cut out to do this and drill. Okay, what you're looking at here, of course, is the modification, which has been completed. And what I've done here is basically cut a space in the back of the case to fit the COM ports and USB and PS2 connectors through. One important thing to remember when you're doing this is to make sure that you align the slots, AGP and PCI and any ISA, up so that they will actually work and fit properly. Okay, so the only real issue, besides of course drilling through the case itself, is that lining everything up and actually mounting the board inside and on the case itself. Now there was 2 screws that actually fit, so that was actually kind of cool because it lined everything up actually correctly, surprisingly enough. And then I used the little plastic things to keep the board from touching the metal. And like I said, there was 2 screws which actually went into the case itself, one right here and one over here. And I did have to, up top here, actually use a twist tie. So overall the board is extremely stable in here, and certainly good enough and stable enough to have it such that it's not going to be moving around or touching any metal. But again, when you're doing this kind of modification, be extremely careful. Take your time and do it step by step. Now, if you notice as well here, along with the modification of cutting, I've actually myself made a few cuts here in the case, and in this situation, I had to actually make a few cuts and actually bang it down with a hammer to be able to get into the COM ports and the PS2 connections here as well. So aside from the cutting, I had to actually use a hammer to bang it down to make it fit better and enable the COM ports to be accessible, of course. Now, something else you should do after you finish cutting is actually cut off all the or smooth out all the sharp edges, so that when you are plugging things back into this, you're not cutting yourself. And if you look here as well, you'll see that, of course, the power supply that was in this huge case was massive. And what I did have to do here is I had to, if I can bring the case up here, what I had to do is kind of mod it in a way. I had to kind of jerry-rig it with a few screws, and what you could use here is maybe some washers or things to just hold it on and make it very secure. And in my case, it is very secure. So not only the power supply, but then of course plugging it all in. Now the power switch in the front of the AT case is quite different than the ATX cases. So what did I do? Well, I used the reset switch to turn on and off the motherboard. And of course the reset switch is just a on-off to give the signal to the motherboard to turn it on and off. So again, I just plug that directly into the motherboard and use it basically as an on-off switch. And that's about it. And plug, of course, all your cards and your CPUs, memory, CD-ROMs, and all this other stuff in there. And at the front here, this case was so large, I had actually used a few fillers to fill up the front so it kind of looks a little better.
So overall, this was a fairly easy modification. You're going to need a few tools, like I mentioned before, a Dremel or some kind of cutting device to cut through the case, and maybe a hammer or some kind of pounding device to flatten some things out. And of course, remember when you're finished all the cutting to go around all the sharp edges and take them off so you don't cut yourself later when you're plugging things in and out. And remember, as any kind of mod, take your time, have a lot of patience, and be very, very careful. This has been another video review. Next week we'll have a brand new video review, so check back then, and please visit my website at www.thevideogeek.com.